I think we'll start with the men while we have Joaquin here.
Why? I love women.
Yeah, maybe. I'll start with a real intro. I'm gonna be professional. New season, new year, new Stranded, new Poody.
Same shithead.
Same shit, different crowd to corrupt. So this is the first podcast for Stranded in Kuril Islands. We are joined by All-Star. Is it just one time All-Star, Danny?
What's up?
We're also joined by our most recent winner, two-time All-Star, Joaquin.
Hi, Poody. I'm happy to be here. I just finished leg day, so I'm probably the most swole of the panel today. So
you are John Swole Train, so
I don't even know where I got that. That's not any of my online identities, but sure.
Yeah, I don't know what to call you. What are we calling you?
My Reddit username is JazzCoder, but I haven't played an org with it in 5 years, so.
I just call him annoying.
You call him what?
He's annoying. I don't like him.
Okay.
You're the one that always fucking tries to start fights with me all the time. Anyway, sorry.
Off to a great start.
I mean, you literally have half the Tallulah train wreck in here, Poody. Here, what you do expect?
Love you, Walt.
And last but not least, we have probably the oldest co-host here, not in terms of age, but in terms of experience. 5-time All-Star, Nofo.
Yeah, never call me oldest again because I'm literally the youngest.
I'm just going to edit out the part where I corrected that.
Unless you count Ziggy, who's lurking in here right now, yeah, Nofo is the youngest in here.
All right, so we're going to start off by doing a cast rundown. Obviously, some people will drop, some people will be replacements, but this is what we got right now. So we're going to go with all the work we did getting these 20 people in line. And I'm super excited about this cast because for the first time we had enough female applicants to where it wasn't like a gimmick where we were out looking for an all-female tribe. But it just kind of worked out that way where we had at least 14 or 15 great female applications to where we felt like we had enough if some showed up to where we could still keep the theme but still have some replacements. And really, I think the group that we ended up with was kind of ideal for this particular season. So we didn't plan for this to be men versus women. It just kind of fell on our laps and we went with it. And I think it was the right call. So today we're going to be talking about the men's tribe. We may get into the women's. We'll see how long this goes. I don't know if we're ready for a 2-hour podcast, but for right now, we're just going to try the men's and see how long that takes.
As a whole,
let's get this shit on the road.
As a whole, I'm excited for the men's tribe. We have a couple of really good applicants in here. I will be pleasantly surprised if otherwise, but if I had to predict right now, I would guess the winner is going to come from this tribe, not because of any men versus women kind of thing, but just because it seems like a lot more people who are veterans of gaming are on this tribe versus there are a lot of people playing their first game on the women's tribe.
You can't see me, but I'm rolling my eyes right now.
I think that's probably fair because typically veterans do better than people completely new to gaming. However, I do think these are I think the most interesting and some of the strongest contestants are on the female tribe. But we'll get into them in a while. I think this is a good group of men. I think a lot of them, we just so happen to have people who are perfect for this type of season. And we'll get into that a little bit. But let's go ahead and start with our first male contestant. We have Ace, who is 21 years old. And he was previously a Survivor Michigan contestant. And for those of you who don't know, Survivor Michigan is like a Survivor Maryland, where there's these colleges that put on YouTube Survivors where they film and they get a bunch of people together and they nerd out and film it all and put it on YouTube. And of course, Survivor Maryland, the person who runs that now is a Stranded alumni, so this kind of fit. But also, this app was our last app that we got, and I wasn't going to make room for him or anything, but he was so awesome in the interview that I did make room for him. Especially, I kicked out someone who has been applying for 3 years, and I was like adamant about casting for him.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say, you had said that the cast was locked in, and then he finally got back to us for an interview and blew it out of the water. So I'm really excited for him to be on the cast. This kid is crazy.
I think he's probably the most exciting person on the cast for me. I think he's a good find. Like, I really think he's got the humor that we like. He's got the gameplay a little bit just from, I mean, it's not an online game, but he's had Survivor experience in some capacity. And I think he's just funny and also kind of knows the pacing of Survivor, you know?
Knows the pacing of Survivor and has been a part of some form of a Survivor game before, knows that it's a little bit about entertainment, a little bit about strategy, a little bit about socializing. Like, this kid seems like he's coming in really well prepared to play all the aspects of the game.
Yeah, he's an all-around star. The only thing that he has working against him is that he lives in Ohio.
Well, he fits right in with our crowd then.
No, Gary's not like a great contestant or anything. Although Fleck's good. As a negative, I don't know, or maybe it's a positive. I don't know. My sister graduated from Michigan, and she said she knew quite a few people who played on the Survivor Michigan thing, and she said they were all really fucking weird. But then again, probably so are we.
I mean,
so
no
I
shit.
don't know.
I mean, no shit, Walk. People who get together at university to play Survivor. We're not talking about like pussy slayers here. I mean, these are our people. These are our freaks, our LARPers.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a pussy slayer.
All right, so I pulled some quotes from him. I pulled quotes from everybody just to give listeners a taste of their app. He says, "I've already been portrayed as the fool with an arrogance unknown to mankind. I made a fake idol when I had a real idol in my pocket." I think he said he played his fake idol and didn't play his real idol.
And then he went home with his real idol in his pocket. Yeah.
So we're dealing with a mental giant here.
I love him.
No, he'll be entertaining as fuck. I don't know if he's going to be the best player, but he sure does talk a good game.
That works.
He says, "Most of the time people don't want me to win, but I'll do it anyways. I'll always wait for another person's suggestion on who to vote out or shape a conversation to encourage a person to say another person's name. I never want to be held liable for anything." So, he's kind of contradictory in that he wants to play like this Russell Hantz, Tony Lachos game, but he also at least is a little bit more clued in to not go big right away.
I think the contradictions and the duality is what makes him very interesting, because I mean that's what the craziest players are. Like, they're walking contradictions. Like, you have players like me who thinks they're smart and isn't.
No, I think you're right about you not being smart. No, I'm kidding. I think players like Russell Hantz and Tony, a lot of people say they're terrible, but you kind of have to be good at something to be able to pull off those moves. So, while he might be over the top, at least they're pretty good socially. So I see that him going the same way. I think he's going to be like, I see early to mid jury for him.
Yeah, I don't see him going out before the merge.
I disagree. I could see him going all the way.
Oh, you think he'll win?
No.
Okay. You think final three?
Yeah. I could see him as, a likable goat.
A likable Dale?
Goat.
A likable goat.
Same thing.
What? Can I not pronounce goat correctly?
No, you skipped out a little bit. Yeah, I could see that. I think that's enough about Ace, though. Super excited about him. I love that he's already talking shit in confessionals.
Especially talking shit about Kiki, which is a way to our heart.
Yeah. Up next, we have Charlie, who is 24 years old. He's non-conforming and brand new to gaming. Crickets. What do we think about Charlie?
Oh, sorry, I was unmuting. But I think you said, Poody, that like the immediate comp that came to your mind was Jonas on him, in that he's just like a really nice guy and he'll be like nice to have around. I don't know how that translates into the gameplay. Jonas was like, what, the merge boot or something?
Yeah. Merge boot. What was great about Jonas and the really likable players is not necessarily what they bring to the game themselves, but what they inspire in other people. Like, for instance, Julie, my wife, was super close to Jonas, and because he was voted off, she went on a fucking rampage to avenge him. And I think that's the interesting part, is that when you have these super likable players like Jordan, even going back to Mongolia, who none of y'all will remember, but Ethan was super lovable. They almost give the villain of the season something to build their character on. So I'm interested in that for that purpose.
Yeah, they're a good straight man to like the chaos of the bigger players like Jillian.
Right. I mean, Johnny Fairplay wouldn't have been anything if he didn't have Rupert to blindside, you know?
Yes,
True.
absolutely.
The thing that I liked about, sorry, I was about to call him Donnie because he gives me some Donnie vibes.
It
but
is a
no,
lot like Donnie.
the thing that I like about Charlie is like he gives off like a very go with the flow attitude, which I think especially when you look at some of the other men on this cast who are very domineering personalities, I think they're all going to be looking for someone to kind of be like their second in command. And I think he could really fit into that position of kind of like a good ally to have around, a fun personality, but not overpowering. So, you know, the big dog who wants to be the big player will gladly take them under their wing, but they'll still be remembered. I could easily see him being like a good lieutenant for someone.
I think for me, Charlie, he's not someone who I would typically be like, let's cast him for sure. But in this season in particular, he was a must-have, mainly because of his background story. And I'll read a quote of it. But he was really open about a lot of his struggles. And that's always a good sign in casting, because we know this is going to be someone who's going to open up to us and to the cast and be someone who's interesting. So he says, I now understand what my gender is, both and neither and nothing, and that being a part of the boy-girl dichotomy doesn't matter. But naturally, I struggled a lot with identity growing up. Kids driving home screaming the F word at you out of their cars. A boy tries to organize the religious kids to avoid walking in the same hallway as me. My best friend's mom stops her from performing with me for the coffee shop because she thinks I'm the devil. Every time I strike back at the people who attack me subtly but intensely, I'm regarded as a gossip, a liar, a bitch. A very scary and extreme moment caused me to drop out of my first semester of college and seek psychological help. It dramatically changed the course of my life. And I think, first of all, it's like an incredible thing to type to anybody, let alone strangers that you're applying for an online game to. But he also, he's using this as like his outlet to show how much he's able to cope. And I think that's super interesting. And Stranded's more than just strategy. So I love that he's sharing this super personal story and his growth. And I think that makes him a lot more compelling of a casting choice.
Absolutely. And I can actually see him going quite far in the game. To me, it would be either a second placer, like gets a couple of votes at the end, like a Donnie or something like that.
Like a Donnie, yeah.
Or like, I'm trying to think, someone who is like the second in command, but because he's so likable around the mid-merge, people actually start going against him. He didn't realize he'd be such a threat, and then kind of is for his personality.
Anyway, I like him, and I hope he wins.
Yeah, I think that covers it for Charlie. I think he'll be likable, and hopefully maybe he'll find some more about himself, that some confidence to play a little bit more aggressively. Or maybe we'll just like him as a person. Either way. Up next, we have Chris, who is a 28-year-old old school gamer since 2007, which is the year Stranded started. He is a Survivor Suckster, which we all know I love my Sucksters. And he's also a gay conservative.
Gays for Trump, baby.
Yes.
I don't know if that's actually what he said, but he's a gay conservative, yes.
He's Danny's friend from an online game, a Danny recruit.
Hell yeah. He's actually currently getting eviscerated in the final tribal right now, which is really funny to watch.
How is he getting eviscerated? What did he do?
Well, we kind of fucked up in the pre-merge and have just been kind of like bottom feeding for the entire game. But he's in the final too. And people just are being bitches because they're bitter that he beat them.
Well, that's
good. What it is.
That's better than him being a goat in the final two.
True. No, but he's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to have him in Stranded. He fits you don't want to say the Stranded personality, because we have a ton of crazy people on here and everyone's a little different, but he has a good sense of humor, kind of a dark sense of humor, which fits in really well and is always fun in confessionals. And he's just aggressively social with everybody in the cast. So I think that he'll be somebody who will thrive in a Stranded environment where so much of the game is based in the IMs now. So I'm excited for him to play.
He says, I live and die for my final two alliance. I usually have my day ones that I tell everything to and constantly have 100% transparency. I give it my all, and while it doesn't show in challenge performance, it'll show when I make top contender every week. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm assuming it's something to do with ORGs or something.
I think that's like the games who do Edgic.
Okay.
Like, and they say like, ooh, we think this person's going to win.
I got you. It's an Edgic. Insider Edgic.
Too much effort.
Ew, I don't like him.
Not a fan?
No. I don't like him.
Nofo with the hot takes tonight.
I think it's cool to have a gay conservative on that tribe, in particular because it's a men versus women season. And it's something different. I mean, we have other gay guys on the tribe. We have non-binary. So we have another Republican on the tribe. So it's a super diverse, even for it being like mostly gamers. I think it's going to be an interesting mix. I don't know that any of that will matter, but I do think it's cool that they have different backgrounds.
I think I just don't like him because he reminds me of me.
Well, that's probably true. You don't like most
That's exactly what I was going to say. That literally you're just jealous because he's too similar to you. I don't know. My experience, I don't know. I haven't met him, but Danny would like constantly send me their PMs while they were in this game or whatever. And this guy is really fucking funny. I think he's going to be a star of this season. I don't think he's going to win, but he'll be like, he's one of the first people that comes to mind when I think like could possibly be on the cover.
Well, that's a little early. Yeah. We'll see how he does first, but no, I get what you're saying. Like, he's a suckster, and he's old school, so of course he's going to fit in like a glove. Same realm and generation as like a Lucy, me, Teresa, Flick. You know,
Sierra.
all those, really funny old school, biting humor, very aggressive gameplay. So he should at least be fun to watch. All right, so let's move on to Rick Devins, who is 29. He's from. Well, he found me on Clubs That Suck, I think. And he says he's been on RTV Games, which I think I've seen before, but I'm not like super familiar with. But he says he's hosted over 175 games. So
they're IMDb type games, it looks like, just in the thread. That's what
he was saying. They're on forum in threads. So this will be a different monster for him. I don't know if we've had anyone from that world jump to Stranded. It'll be interesting to see if he can translate that into good gameplay because it's so different. He says he's most like Zeke because I tend to be a bit of a misfit and an oddball, and I've always considered myself wise beyond my years.
I thought he was very, very fun in his interview. Like, I really liked his personality. He was funny. Like, I just liked him as a person. I don't know how he's going to do in the game, but like, I think he's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think he'll get the humor of it. I think he'll have fun with it. I don't know how, like you said, he didn't mention a whole lot about his strategy or gameplay. So I don't know if that'll be his focus. And that's not even really what I'm interested in. I'm just hoping he gets his hands dirty at some point because he might have more. I'm worried about him becoming a little too background.
Yeah, that's what worried me too. Because he said for the personality question, he listed himself as a 4. I didn't get that impression from his interview.
No, I think his interview won us over.
It's just been him being modest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Rick. I think it'll be more interesting than his app leads on because I don't think we were looking at him necessarily, and then his interview was really good. And he's a little bit older. He's a little bit more experienced than some of the people, so I'm hoping that translates, but we'll see.
Yeah, I do appreciate that he's very realistic in his how large is your personality and how well do you think you do and how are you approaching the game. Like, he's basically saying, like, I'm not the biggest personality. I don't necessarily think I'm going to be the winner of the season. If anything, I'll probably go around halfway through. But he's just here for the fun of it. And I think that he's probably, since he said his community is kind of like shutting down, he's probably looking for somewhere to kind of jump over and get involved again. So I'm excited to see how he does. I'm excited to watch him play. And I think if he can figure out the boards, figure out kind of the speed of Stranded, I think he'll do great.
Yeah. Let's move on to Eric, who is 21 from Survivor Sucks. So we know he's got a fan in me. He says he's the blunt, matter-of-fact, logical decision-making skills and bitchiness charming, friendly, seemingly innocent, people person skills, and the temper of Nayanka Mixon. I'm a person in everyday life that doesn't deal with nonsense. If you've got something to say to me, you say it. And if I'm feeling similarly, I'll do the same. The second it starts to get heated, it'd be my gut reaction to turn my back on them. And I quoted this because it's going to come up later when we talk about another app, but he says, I don't do well with folks that can't keep a conversation, particularly in orgs. And boring conversations, well, they bore me. It's not going to work out between us. This guy was like oozing personality. I love him so much, but he's not shown up yet. And that's very concerning.
Yeah, he hasn't logged in yet. I was actually in a game with him. He got himself booted like third because this kid was gaming hard right off the bat. They allowed us to do open communication across tribes, and he was basically like planning for like the final 5, on the second boot of the game, like tried to set up this alliance for late down the road and told the wrong people and just got his ass in so much deep water. So I'm excited to watch him play. Hopefully he can pull it together a little bit and not fuck himself over so fast. But he's anything but boring.
I hope he goes hard right off the bat.
Joaquin, are you still convinced the winner is on this tribe?
Yes. Well, I'm not convinced. I mean, but I think, this guy is not one of those people, but there are people who have played a lot of games.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this guy's personality. I'm concerned that he's not shown up. That's not a good sign. That's very concerning.
We emailed him. Hopefully we'll get a response.
Yeah, hopefully he'll show up, but I don't know. I do know in interviewing him and talking to him, he was super fun. So let's hope he shows up because I think he's got early train wreck written all over him.
And if he doesn't show up, you have a perfect person to replace him.
Well, we always have backups. We interviewed a lot of people, so no matter what, we'll be good. But I'd always like to have our first picks lined up. All right, so let's move on to Marcus, who is 29. He is a Republican law student, brand new to gaming. This was my pick. I don't care what anyone else wanted. I wanted him in the season. Mainly so I can have someone in politics to talk to. No, but he was interesting because I think he might be the oldest on that tribe, or at least second oldest.
Yeah, I think we have one older.
To me, that was important to get at least a few older players on this tribe because there's so many young ORGers that I wanted like some real people who aren't like all org all the time. And I think he's interesting. He's accomplished. I think he's maybe a little bit more laid back. I think he's more open than you would think with him being a Republican. He says he gets along with hardworking, competent, and nice people. Basically, you can have pretty much any background as far as race, religion, sex goes, as long as you are easy to be around, nice, and aren't delusional.
I'll be the person to say it. I respect your casting decisions and know that I will probably be wrong on this. But of the people who were cast this season, I thought this guy had the most boring interview.
Nofo.
I didn't read the interview, but just reading through his bio right now, he says he doesn't like the token crazy person, and he also says he's very busy pretty much all day long. So that's all I have to say about him. It speaks for itself.
Basically, I'm not saying I think he's going to be like my favorite character or the best player this season or even the most interesting person this season. I just think it was necessary in terms of diversity on this tribe, especially because there are so many gamers, which is cool, but we need somebody for them to play with. And I think this guy's it. We want new people too. We don't want all experienced people who've played in a million games. I'd like to see how he adjusts, especially amidst the sharks on his tribe. He could be an early boot. I think he's probably an early boot, but he might surprise us.
I've been enjoying watching him struggle really hard with this practice puzzle in his confessional today. He's struggling almost as bad as Kiki is.
Yikes. How is she struggling? We'll get to her.
Well, she still hasn't figured out image tags, so
Yikes.
Not surprised.
Yikes, girl. All right. So that's Marcus. Up next we have Maddie, who is an 18-year-old Instagram gamer. Shout out Garrett and Wu. And he's played since 2012.
And he's also apparently narcoleptic.
I love this kid.
Yeah. Yeah, he was super entertaining in our, like, this was another one we weren't planning on casting, but we interviewed him and he was like way over the top. He says, I don't mind being a villain. I truly believe villains have more fun and can still be good people. I'd like people to know how kind and funny I am, but also know I will do anything to win. And when it comes to gameplay, I will play as dirty as I have to. He said a lot, and he was a lot in his interview. I think he's going to overplay very hard. I also don't know how active he'll be, which is concerning. But I can hope for another Garrett and Wu if he's from the same world as them.
Yeah, I think he's another one of the very crazy people on the men tribe.
I'm just nervous because he hasn't shown up yet.
Oh, he did show. Well, he responded to the email, right?
Yeah, he hadn't logged in, and that's a little bit like, what the fuck, you know? And his response was like an excuse as to why he was gone. We sent this shit out on Monday, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I was sleeping." Like, sleeping for 3 days?
I do hope he shows up. I mean, the thing is, like, I do think it'll be really fun to see somebody who's 18 years old and kind of like a lunatic interact with the rest of this tribe, because in general, this entire cast is older. So having like one kind of crazy young person, I think would just be really funny.
Yeah, he's the youngest person in the whole cast.
Yeah, but he seems like he's a lot of fun. At the very least, you'll get a couple good episodes where his confessionals are just kind of off the walls and then people get sick of him. And I think that's like the worst case. And then best case, he'll just be comedy for everybody lurking until like maybe the mid-merge.
I think the worst case is he doesn't show, which I think he's in danger of, especially coming from See, this is why it's hard. It's hard when people are... It's almost better when someone's brand new and super enthusiastic about playing versus someone who comes from like Discord orgs or in this case Instagram orgs, which who the fuck knows what that's about. Because you have to break them into you almost have to like retrain them on how to play. And if they're used to something more relaxed, that could really hurt them if they're expecting to have something more relaxed here. So that's my concern. If we get him at a good activity level, I think he'll be amazing. It's just a matter of, I don't know if I'm convinced we'll get him at that level. I think it's worth the risk, though.
I think he'll be fun if he does show.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to one of the people I'm probably most excited about, Randy, who is 19. He's from Discord Games. However, he is a recruit from another one of our favorite lunatics, Rob. And apparently, Rob thinks he's fucking insane, so you know he's crazy. He had... The way he was referred to me was that Rob sent me one of his video confessionals from another game where he's screaming at the camera as he's riding his bike on a rainy highway, and he's ranting about someone else in the game. It's fucking amazing. I mean, truly, if we get one of those, it's worth casting.
This is that crazy guy?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Giraffe. That video, he like put a GoPro on like his bicycle and was like screaming at people. That was like the most insane thing I've ever seen someone send in for an app. Yeah,
I mean, I'm almost afraid to ask if he has any serious mental conditions because I don't want any responsibility for casting him. I'm just going to play ignorance and assume he doesn't and be entertained from here on out, you know. But I won't be surprised if he does. He says he's a nut who has a likable personality and can also play a very manipulative social game. The kind of person that everyone would like, but no one would fully respect once watching the show. Then he described himself in kind of a contradictory way by saying he's just a dick who no one would like in any way. I know I can be viewed that way, and if that's how I get betrayed, so be it. There has to be one villain at least, and I always end up being a villain in the games I play.
I think like 4 different people on this tribe have said that they're going to be the villain. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
This dude answered like the most contradictory thing on the fucking planet on his app for what Survivor contestants match your personality the best and how. And his like 2 of his answers were Tony and Mari Takahashi. Like how on fucking earth do those both match somebody's personality?
Yeah, a lot of his answers are contradictory. I think he doesn't. I mean, to be fair, I'm super contradictory depending on my mood, so relatable. But I think he's someone who's probably a little bit generally paranoid and is constantly double guessing overthinking what he's going to do or say. I think that's what he does. I think he gets in his head, and that would be super entertaining in the game, because if you throw a generally paranoid person into Stranded, that's like a recipe for amazing viewing.
Yeah, this guy's going to be awesome. I think like super entertaining. I think there was like, I don't know. Like you said, I don't like really see a world that he's the winner, but I think he's going to be absurdly entertaining.
Yeah, I really hope this guy goes deep. I don't know if he can, but if he can, he's going to be like Stranded royalty. Like he's that.
Every round we have him will be a gift.
Yeah, he's that entertaining, I think.
I think I'm more excited for him than maybe anybody else in the cast. It's close. There are a couple people up there, but he's one of the top of the top.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we still have 2 more to go, and I think one of those will give him a run for his money. Nofo, did you have a thought you were going to say?
No, I disagreed with what.
Okay. Well, let's move on to Ron, who is 30 years old. He says he's most like Cass because he's strategic and measured, can speak off the cuff and get herself in trouble. And he says he's going to be perceived as a strategic villain who causes chaos but is generally liked. This guy was great because he was genuinely funny. And anytime someone makes me laugh in an app, like, they're going to give good confessionals, and they're probably pretty funny. Like this guy, I just love this answer to this question. How do you think he would actually be portrayed? A doormat. I struggle with dominant alpha males. I find their arrogance and paranoia difficult to predict. I would get along with fellow nerds and the girls. I love that he said that because he's going to be in a tribe full of men. So it would be interesting to see his reaction to it being an all-male tribe.
Well, I mean, he currently thinks that it's not actually an all-male tribe and that we're fucking with them. He had a really funny pregame confessional basically saying how he wants to be the villain, how he thinks that, there's no way people are actually all guys and girls on the tribes, thinking that there's like an extra layer of duplicity when there really isn't. And I think that's a good idea where his head is going to be at in the game. He's going to be overanalyzing everything. He's going to be paranoid. He's going to think that he's the strategic mastermind. And I could see him just getting totally fucked over by an alliance and going ape shit about it. So I'm excited for him.
He reminds me the most of Dale in Indonesia. I really can see him overplaying his hand, and I think he'll go deep. I really do. I think he's got at least, he's super paranoid, I think. And I think he will bounce back and forth. I just see him getting in the mix. I do.
Well, thank you for ruining him for me, Poody.
I know, I had to say it. But Dale was a great character his first season, as insane as he is.
No, I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be a great person, especially on this first iteration of the tribe. He's already talking shit about all of his tribe mates for not putting periods in their check-ins and for using certain emojis. Like, this guy he's going to be fun to watch, I think.
He's maybe the one person on this tribe that I could see actually winning.
No, I agree. I think he's got a good head about him. I think he's going to be a little bit too over the top to win.
Yeah.
But I do like him a lot. I think this is the one you had a crush on, right, Nofo?
Yes, this is.
Okay, just throwing that out there.
But
take Nofo's criticism with a grain of salt here.
Who's Nofo's one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm excited for Ron. I think he'll be good. I think moving on, last but definitely not least, we have War Dog, who is a 20-year-old Discord ORG. Can we say legend? Icon?
Psychopath.
He's infamous.
Yeah, infamous is a great word for him. I just remember maybe a year ago coming across a post on the Survivor ORG subreddit that said, do not cast this person in your games. And instantly I was like, where can I find this dude and how do I get him restrained?
Why did it say not to cast him?
Because he was like, he pisses everyone off in games. He probably complains about challenges, I think.
He fights with the host.
Yeah, he fights with everything we love. And it just so happens like, a year goes by, some of our players become pretty big in the Discord ORG world and get to know him and introduce us. So here he is. And I also love that when I approached him, I kind of know how to handle those guys because I've casted them all. And so I know you got to kind of appeal to their ego a little bit. So I was like, hey, I've heard a lot about you.
Just fuck already.
Yeah. Basically, he's not easy to get to play your games, I don't think, but he wanted to play Stranded. And I think he's also, I don't know how he's playing games because I don't think many people are casting him either. But anyway, that's who we're dealing with War Dog. So he says, I guess I want to win despite being a problematic person. He's most like Russell Hantz because I have a brutal strategic game and a lacking social game. I lack social awareness, but am still an actual god/goddess. I get along well with big personalities, but boring people, well, they bore me. We clash. If you can't hold a conversation, it's hard to even drag you to the end of the game as a goat. Which, as I said in my other conversation, is super similar to what Eric said. Like almost the same sentence Eric said. But anyway, War Dog, this guy or Randy are going to be the stars of this pre-merge for this season. And I think one of them at least will make the merge. Hopefully we have both make the merge, but I don't know if we'll be that lucky. Have any of you played with him?
Ziggy has.
Oh my god.
Ziggy has. Of course, he's not talking.
Ziggy's looking to find some big reveal speech.
So, the story, from what I understand, is him and his boyfriend applied to this org under alts because they weren't they had a real big problem. The main host had a problem with them, and they wanted to play and prove they were great. And I'm pretty sure they both made it pretty deep. And then on finale night, they revealed that they were alts. And then everyone started freaking out, and they made that big Reddit post, and he got banned from a bunch of places. And I actually I'll post it. Someone made this really long Google Doc about why everyone should hate Shock, and it's really funny. Hold on, I'm just looking for it. Continue with your podcast. Sorry.
Our Survivor Discord server, because of me, it's a whole long story, and I don't even remember the details now. But he's a fucking crazy person. He is legitimately a psychopath.
So you're saying he's perfect for Stranded?
Yeah.
He'll fit right
this guy is going to be a star, dude.
Yeah, he's going to be a star. I really do feel like he could do very well with
I was
this
thinking
cast.
that too. I was thinking he could potentially win. I could see him. I definitely see him doing better than Randy in terms of gameplay. When I talk to him, he's a little bit more clued in. He knows he's a troll. He knows he's going to be unpopular. And he knows, I think that's step one to working around that. Whereas Randy, I don't know if he knows that. I think he's just fucking crazy.
Well, I was a spectator for Justin/Russell's last season of his org that was right around the same time as Stranded. And Chalk was the runner-up in that game. And, I mean, that had some people like Michelle from Isolated, Casey from Isolated. You had some people who are pretty good gamers that went out really early, and Chalk made it to the final 3 of a 24-person game. He's a strategic force. He can do very well in a game like this. And I think that with this setup and the people that we have cast, I think he's in a good position to not stick out as the only crazy person, but he's also strategic enough that he can really make it far.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I said Randy was one of the most I'm looking forward to. I think War Dog is the one I'm looking forward to. Not only because of reputation, but because I also think he's clued in. I think he's got a good head about games. Obviously, he's done enough of them and kind of knows how to work around it. I think it'll be interesting seeing him with a lot of the other players and a lot of the older players. I think it's going to benefit him that he's starting on an all-male tribe. I don't know how he'll do with a lot of the women because they in particular mention arrogant people. A lot of them, their opinions are more emotional based and they are not fans of arrogant over the top players. So that could really hurt him in the long run.
I think he and Chris are going to get along really well. Him and Chris will be really tight, I think. I think they're going to get along very well.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of didn't do where we think they'll end up. Do we want to go into the women or we want to wait for another podcast? Because this is pretty long now.
I think we can do the women tomorrow. I mean, we're not doing anything major over the weekend that requires looking back at a round. We can get the women done then.
Well, let's just real quick see how we think everyone's going to do. We'll do the rundown one more time just to get a good overview of this tribe. Ace, where do we think he'll end up?
I think mid-merge.
Final 2.
I said mid to early merge is what I think. Charlie, where do we think he'll end up?
Which one's that?
Not your average Ryan.
Oh, mid-merge.
I think late merge.
I was going to say late merge or final tribal goat.
Chris, who is our 28-year-old gay conservative Danny friend.
I think he's going to go mid to late merge.
Merge boot.
Merge boot. That's a hot take.
I said fifth boot.
Fifth boot. I think he'll go mid merge. I think like final 7. Devins. I'm going to say Devins is one of our early boots.
He's my winner pick, but I don't feel great about it.
He wouldn't be your first winner pick.
Have I ever picked a winner? Probably not. I'm pretty awful at these preseason takes, honestly.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, my pick usually does very well, so
suck it. I think Devin's not going to do too well. Eric is the 21-year-old Survivor Suckster, the guy who thinks he has the temper of Naoka and doesn't do well with boring people. I think Eric merge boot, just barely
early merge, flame out.
I think I could see pre-merge for sure. Marcus, the Republican boring guy, I think late pre-merge.
Yeah, I think he makes swap and then goes shortly after.
I think he's one of the first boots.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. I think like fourth boot it has him written all over it. Maddie, the 18-year-old Instagrammer.
I'll say pre-merge.
I don't have that much faith in him. Maybe late pre-merge.
I think he's not going to show up.
I think it's either like inactive replacement or late pre-merge, like right before the merge. Randy. I think Randy is late pre-merge, early merge. Probably.
I can see him getting dragged very far.
I don't see him allowing himself to get dragged anywhere. I think he's going to be cut right before merge.
Yeah, I think post swap's going to be hard for him. Ron, the 30-year-old funny strategic guy that Nofo likes.
Not to be biased, but like he gives me very Varner or Pinner type winner vibes. Very walk-esque.
Wow.
Well, I think the hardest part of the game for him will be this initial part of the game, like at the very beginning, like with all these crazy people in the same tribe. I think if he makes it to a swap, we had talked about him wanting to play with the women a lot. I think that'll play a lot in his favor.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's an important part of this. Like, I think at first it won't benefit him, but I think he'll get through that to the swap, and then he'll really be a threat. And finally, War Dog. Where do we think he's going to do? Like I said, I think he could actually win.
Early boot or all the way. No
Final
in between.
5. What do you say, Nofo?
Early boot or all the way. No in between.
Danny, what do you think?
I think Chalk's going early merge.
What?
Oh, man. I'm going to say this guy goes out like 8th. Like
Okay.
eighth place, not like the 8th boot.
Okay. I could see him actually being like Final 5 threat vote out. I think that's going to wrap it up. I think the men's tribe, we have some really big characters here. I actually think that they're even less, if you can believe it, less interesting than the women's tribe. But I think that they're probably some better players just by experience. But we'll get into that when
They're going to be so dysfunctional.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we go over the women. I think the women they have a much better chance of being united, and I think that's going to benefit them a lot. So we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting, though. It's definitely a good group to have men versus women.
They'll be united against Jillian.
Yeah, maybe Jillian will just be the ultimate equalizer.
She's already making enemies and she can't even talk to them yet.
She's not even doing anything, and people already hate her.
Dude, you won't include this in this podcast, but I cannot express enough how excited I am for her to be a complete and utter train wreck on this season.
I know. Kiki, if you're listening to this after the season's over, Blaine Walk for your rep.
This isn't making it on the podcast because this is the men's podcast, but her as Jillian is just, it's so funny to me.
Yeah, we'll get into that on the next one.
I'm not ready for another season of begging to talk to Dally.
Well, she can talk to Dally as soon as she gets voted off into the pre-jury Discord server.
All right, well, enough of Jillian because we're ruining our next podcast.
It's getting cut out.
Giving our good content away. All right, so let's just wrap it up. We really look forward to seeing how these men do in the game. I think there's some serious contenders to win. I think there's some serious train wreck potential. Certainly, there are character potential in everybody, and I think really the casting this season is on par with Morocco. I think our options are fantastic, and I can't wait to see how these people do.
Good pod, everybody.
Gilly.